Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with, unless you've been living under a rock for the last day or two, we've had the famous here we go for André Onana and his exit to Turkey confirmed. So André Onana agrees to join Trabzonspor. Here we go. All contracts are now signed on player side, waiting on counter approval from Trabzonspor and travel next week. Deal done on loan from Manchester United as revealed on Saturday. No option or loan fee, interestingly. So we're not getting there's no option or obligation or anything like that to buy André Onana. There's no loan fee either. They are just covering his wages. So we're happy just to, remove Onana from the squad and from the obviously from the club, and they're just paying his full wages from our perspective. He in turn is actually getting a pay rise, which we'll go through in the next of the rest of the updates. Ironically, considering he turned up to Old Trafford or to Carrington at the beginning of pre-season, asked for a pay rise. Well, he's got one, just not with United. So this is all done. Got the here we go from Romano. It's just a case of finishing international duty and then he'll fly, do his medical, sign the contract and do all of that for Jazzle as well. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. And smash a like if you're a little bit relieved as well. I'm actually, I feel like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders with Onana not being number one goalkeeper anymore, not even being at the club, because it got to the point, and I do feel a little bit sad in a way, but he just feels nobody with any confidence. I don't know any fan personally that any faith in André Onana. I think it was rubbing off on the players as well. There was just a nervousness around André Onana, and I think it's the right thing. Just remove yourself from that environment, go away, rebuild your confidence and whatever, and then what will happen next summer will happen next summer. I'd imagine that they'll, he'll probably be contender for being number one in the bomb squad for 2026, I would imagine. But yeah, I feel like a big weight has been lifted off of my shoulders because I don't have to feel that nervousness. I'm still nervous about Bayindir, but mainly from corners and crosses, but nowhere near as bad as if we had André Onana in goal, because you just didn't know what he was going to do. At least Bayindir's got a weakness. You know what his weakness is, so we can shit ourselves when there's a corner or a cross into the box, right? But with Onana, I was shitting myself every back pass, every time the ball came near him, every shot. Like, it's just so I actually feel really relieved that this has happened. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on it in the comments below. Now, Laurie Whitwell's done a good piece actually kind of clarifying a few things around it. So firstly, Laurie Whitwell said that Trabzonspor will cover André Onana's Manchester United salary in full, with Onana set to earn extra due to bonuses. Sources close to the player say he will earn almost double at Trabzonspor, so he's going to earn himself double his salary with his bonuses and stuff like that as well, but we're just going to get his full wages covered, which is about all you can expect, I think, once our transfer window's closed and it's this late, it's this sort of late last minute loan. But I don't think your club are bothered as long as they pay his wages. It is what it is. But interestingly, he said Onana is scheduled to travel to Trabzon in Turkey via Paris once he has completed international duties with Cameroon, who have a Crunch World Cup qualifier in Cape Verde on Tuesday evening. So we should get a little bit more developments this week or announcements, and it will all be officially done probably later on this week as well. But interestingly, though, Laurie Whitwell clarified a few things around the situation, saying that United did not intend to sign a goalkeeper when the transfer window opened, but circumstances changed when Onana came back for pre-season. He reported an issue with his hamstring on day one and then the full injury on day two. But this left staff questioning what shape he was in after the summer to suffer the problem straight away. So this has been reported before about United not being happy. The fact he came back on day one, according to Laurie Whitwell, with a hamstring injury and then was out, officially on day two. That upset people behind the scenes as well, questioning what he's been doing in pre-season. But then interestingly as well, that maybe was the catalyst as why they then decided to go for a goalkeeper, because maybe before that, it's weird actually, because the reports around Onana have been so mixed all summer. Loads of reports saying we want to sell him, we want to get rid of him, but then there was other reports saying no, he wants to stay, he's going to be the number one, and been very confusing, the situation. But yeah, interestingly, so the first thing from Laurie Whitwell he rocked up injured. And then secondly, Onana came back to Carrington wanting a new contract. He has been of that view since receiving the standard 25% cut for non-qualification to the Champions League, a stance that did not go down well with Amorim. So not only did he turn up on day one injured of pre-season, but then also asking for another pay rise as well, or wanted to negotiate a new contract. And that was maybe the straw that broke the camel's back, with Ruben Amorim, where they were like, hold on, that, because Amorim, remember, like he said before, do you really watch what players, how they behave, what they eat, what they dress, what they wear, all of this stuff as well. And maybe that's and with Ineos' stance, they want people to come to United, not to that want to be here for the money. So I wonder if that triggered something behind the scenes with the hierarchy, where they were like, hold on, this guy keeps demanding, a pay rise and increase in wages. Is that the right mentality that we want here? Who knows? But I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash at some point in time, the actual situation behind the scenes as well. But either way, doesn't matter. Onana's going to Turkey and on loan for the rest of the season. We're just getting his wages covered. He's earning more money, and then I'm sure he'll be a contender for being in the 2026 bomb squad, I'm sure. But we'll have to wait and see how all that plays out. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, Sean Connolly said that Manchester United will save around £3.7 million in salary payments with Onana's loan move to Trabzonspor. So, again, doesn't really help us a great deal. But again, it's reducing that wage cost and that wage bill, helping us stay compliant with PSR, but then also giving us a lot more wiggle room to actually go forward and buy players and give them give contracts out to obviously our new signings and stuff as well. But yeah, 3.7 million, that's nuts, isn't it? But yeah, with Onana, and I'm just really relieved. I feel actually really relieved. Like, this is like therapy, talking it out loud, because I didn't do a video yesterday, even though the Here We Go came, but I had a few family commitments and stuff. But I actually feel a lot more it's like therapy. Talking it out loud has now made it a little bit more real to me. So I'm actually really relieved that this has happened. Where that leaves us going forward with our current goalkeepers then, according to Chris Wheeler, he says André Onana's departure is likely to leave the way clear for Senne Lammens to become Manchester United's new number one, with Bayindir and Heaton as backup. Obviously, a lot of pressure on Senne Lammens now to come in and do well, but the reports are that he's very well regarded and liked, and they're really happy with the goalkeeper. Whether he's going to be thrown in at the deep end in the Manchester derby, I doubt. I don't think Amorim's that sort of manager where he's going to throw a player under the bus potentially like that. But I suppose it depends on how he performs in training. I think the players are back from international Wednesday this week, so, and then we've got a few days ahead of the derby, so obviously he's going to have to see how he gets onto them. But I suspect it'll be Bayindir, at least for the City game, and then Lammens will have a full week then of training behind the scenes. We'll see ahead of the Chelsea tie as well. But yeah, interesting. It opens the doorway, and it's part of the ruthlessness, I think. Like, I've been super impressed. One of the things I wanted to see this summer specifically from Ineos and everyone was the exits. How did we do getting rid of players? And I'd love your thoughts on this as well. So overall, Rashford gone loan to Barcelona, Sancho loan to Aston Villa. Rashford does have a option to buy. There's nothing in Sancho's loan. It's just a straight loan. Antony was sold for 19 million plus 3 million in add-ons. We do have a 50% sell-on clause in that for any profit from Betis selling him in the future. Garnacho, 40 million pounds plus a 10% sell-on clause. Højlund, 5.1 million pound fee for a loan fee. 37.4 million option that turns into an obligation to buy depending on appearances and Champions League qualifications for Napoli. Onana, straight loan. Malaysia, still time, but no real movement on Malaysia. He's the only one that we can't get rid of, whether that's because of his fitness or his fitness and his injury records. Like, I thought this the other day, what if he's just failing medicals or can't pass a medical test because of his botched knee surgeries that he's had? Who knows? And then Christian Eriksen and Victor Lindelof left on a free, and then Johnny Evans retired as well. Now, it's not the I think we've done really well to get rid of those players just purely because they're very high. A lot of them high wage players, like salary wise. So Rashford is our highest paid player, I think, or amongst our highest paid players. Jadon Sancho, the same as well. It's always going to be difficult to sell players that one have cost loads of money to come in, but then also that are on high salaries. Look at what Man City have had to do with Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish is on loan. Why? Because he paid £100 million for him and he's on big wages, and it's very difficult to sell those players. So a lot of the times they are just going to have to run their contracts out. I can see a similar situation with Rashford if Barcelona don't take up the option to buy, where we might just have to loan him out again until his contract runs out, because no other team is going to pay them those sort of salaries. And as we've seen with Jadon Sancho as the example, he doesn't want to take a pay cut. So you're stuck in that position once you give those big contracts out. That's why it ties your hand. So I don't think there was much more we could do with those. Antony, he stamped his feet in and only wanted to go to Real Betis. I think we could have got more money from anywhere else, but I don't think that was a Man United issue. The Garnacho one, I do think we created ourselves by creating or making it publicly known that he was in the bomb squad, and we wanted to sell him. There was the report even before the transfer window opened that Amorim had basically told him to find a new club and to jog on. Højlund, I think, is quite brutal because, I think Højlund would want to stay, but I think United played it smartly there by actually buying a striker and then basically exiling him from the team to force him out, which is something we've never seen from United before. How often would we have not signed a striker and then ended up keeping Højlund, maybe to the detriment of our team and our performances and our European qualifications? So I actually think that was a smart move. I think they've done a smart move with Onana as well, effectively doing the same thing, buying a player in and then saying, well, your third choice now, mate. So deal with it, or here's a loan offer available. Why don't you go and do that if you want to go and play football? So I actually think it's been. I'm pleased. I'm pleased with it. Yes, it could have been better. Yes, we could have got more money and stuff, but ultimately there are problem players that we wanted to get rid of, and barring Malaysia, who's not really seen as an issue behind the scenes, it's more of a fitness and an ability issue with Malaysia. I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad at all. And the ruthlessness, I think, from Ineos and Amorim is, when you deep dive it, and I know it's not necessarily the players' faults or anything, but our biggest problem last season was mistakes at the back, i.e. Onana making mistakes in goal and making everybody nervous and everything at the back as well. And we could not score goals. And I think that they've maybe looked at it and said, well, we couldn't score goals, so we need an upgrade on the striker and an upgrade on the goalkeeper as well, which is interesting as well. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on the exits. How do you think we did? Give us your shouts in the comments below. It'll be interesting to read those later. Now, in terms of future priorities, Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic this morning has said that midfield is the glaringly obvious choice, although whether that is still too early for United to revive their pursuit of Brighton's Carlos Baleba remains to be seen. United attempted to steal a march on rivals for Baleba by holding talks via intermediaries last month, before Brighton made it clear in direct club-to-club talks that they plan to keep the 21-year-old for another season at least. If that stance holds into January and beyond, and United's midfield issues cannot be ignored, they may have to choose between waiting for their dream target in Baleba or looking elsewhere. So Laurie Whitwell saying that going forward, United's transfer priority is going to be the midfield. I think that's obvious. That's been widely reported as well, and I do think that should be, midfield, maybe centre half as well in future transfer windows, but definitely the midfield would be the next priority. But interestingly, saying that they've got a choice now. Do we wait for Baleba? Do we try to go for Baleba in January if we've got the money available to do that? Possibly, but then if we hit a wall and Brighton are like, no, we're not selling in mid-season, what do we then do? Do we pivot for somebody else, or do we wait until next summer and put all our eggs in the Baleba basket? I suppose a lot of that would depend on, what we're hearing from the player and his agent, because the next summer there is going to be competition for Carlos Baleba, and if we're not in Champions League, and then you have a Chelsea, a Liverpool, Man City, whoever coming in, there are in Champions League, what would his feelings be towards coming to United at that stage? We don't know, so there is a massive question mark around waiting. But then if we get a buy-in or a signal from him that says, yeah, I want to come regardless, like we did with Matheus Cunha early when we were in talks with him, then, maybe they would wait. But I suppose the interesting question from there is who else would we go to? Because, Conor Gallagher was one we tried a late loan attempt for in the summer. Would we go back in for him? So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Obviously ahead of the winter window, but give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, sticking with Carlos Baleba, Sean Connolly said that Manchester United plan to bid for Carlos Baleba in January to fend off rival suitors. The player has urged Brighton to accept a suitable offer Eager to join Ruben Amorim's squad with or without European football, seeing the project as an irresistible opportunity. So Sean Connolly's decent as well when it comes to United news. This is following on from the reports I brought you on Saturday regarding Carlos Baleba as well, suggesting, so Laurie Whitworth saying, look, midfield's going to be a priority. Not sure whether we would go in for Baleba in January or maybe wait for the summer. There's loads of pros and cons, I think, to doing that either way. But then Sean Connolly suggesting that maybe we would go back in January as a way to fend off that competition, because one of the cons from waiting for next summer for Baleba is the competition that we would have. And how would he feel about coming to United, as I mentioned before, if Champions League clubs come in for him? So that's going to be really interesting. And it'd be interesting to see how he performs between now and then as well, because he's had a bit of a shaky start to the season. But maybe his head's been turned, and some players do that, don't they? They get let down on a move or don't get a move to another club. Their heads fall off, and then they don't quite perform as well. So, but there could be something in that as well. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. And then finally, a couple of stories I've got for you. So as reported a few days ago, the injury isn't seen as serious as first feared. Next few days, key to see how he fares with his rehab. City game looking unlikely as of today, but can change. So Sully talks. I brought you a story from him the other day saying that Matheus Cunha, his injury is not as serious as first feared, but we need to see over the next few days to see how his rehab goes, to see whether he would be available for the City game, but looking unlikely as of today, but hopefully maybe back for the Chelsea game, or not out for too long, Matheus Cunha. And then similarly with Mason Mount, Sully Talk said that Mason Mount's injury is not seen as serious and considered minor. Mount is already doing strength and rehabilitation work at the gym, also working on physical, emotion, recovery work, taken off for precaution by Amorim. So again, we'll know more by the end of this week with the players coming back to training on Wednesday. So no doubt we'll see photos and hear a few updates regarding injuries, and then it'll be Amorim's press conference at the end of the week as well. God, this international break has absolutely sucked, hasn't it? Just going off topic there, but hopefully nothing too serious then with Mason Mount and Matheus Cunha, but don't know at this stage whether they're going to be available for the derby. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. And then the final story I've got for you is regarding Marcus Rashford. I brought you an update the other day from El Nacional in Spain, where they were saying that Hansi Flick was not impressed with Marcus Rashford, but they did say that they're not in a position where they were wanting to terminate his contract and stuff. That was doing the rounds online. So Fabrizio Romano has clarified the situation, saying many questions coming, and I don't even know from where, because many of you asked me, but it is true, Fabrizio, that Barcelona are considering terminating the contract of Marcus Rashford early. He said, I don't know where this story is coming from, to be honest. I think it's really a shame to see these kinds of rumours, because there's absolutely zero to it. Barcelona are very happy with Rashford, happy with the deal they did, and so at the moment, into these reports of Barcelona terminating the loan deal early for Marcus Rashford is complete bullshit. So there we go. So Barcelona are not in a position where they're looking to terminate Marcus Rashford's loan early. They probably have had words to say, well, we just want to see a little bit more from you, but it's the start of the season. I think everyone's getting a little bit too giddy. There's only 3 games. It takes a while for some players to find their feet and find their form and stuff like that as well. And I hope he does well there. I genuinely hope he does well. And I hope they take up the option to buy him next summer as well, because that's the best thing for all parties involved. He wants to go there. The player himself wants to be at Barcelona. This was the move that he fought for and wanted, and then from our perspective, we get a bit of cash next summer as well for him. But yeah, total bullshit about Barcelona terminating his contract early, according to Fabrizio Romano. Give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video. That's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.